Everybody is streaming in. As you are joining us, I'd love you to put in the chat where you are joining us from. Where in the world are you tuning in from? Welcome to Gene. Great to see you. Mr. Ben Dorat, big fist pump to you, brother. Belinda's here. Lauren's here. Great to see you. Colleen's here. Rhonda Walker in Canada. Love seeing you here. We've got people from all over the world. If you happen to be, I know that North America right now is like a frozen brick. So if you are in North America, please tell us how many degrees below zero it is. We're very sweaty here in Queensland, Australia. Team, as we're all coming in, we'll just give people another moment to get in. It's always strange with Zoom, isn't it? It's like you press the button and everyone's there. It's not like coming into a training room where you can find your seat and settle in. So we're going to just hang out for a few minutes. I'd love to know, as well as where you're from in the world, what have we got here? We've got a very global audience. Ben's in Melbourne. Lauren is in New South Wales. Allegra's in Byron. Love Byron. Lived there myself. Leanne is in the Gold Coast. I've also lived on the Gold Coast. Love the Gold Coast. Manitoba, Canada. I have not been there, but I do want to come visit you, Rhonda. Rachel, Salt Lake City, Utah. Catherine's in Canberra. Jody's in Melbourne. Only minus 32 in Manitoba today. How about that? And Jean is in Noosa. Sonia's in California. Kerry's in Denver and 0 today. That's fabulous. Team, I'd love you to share with me in the chat. Are you coming for your first book, your second book, your third book, your fourth book, your fifth book? Just love to know who are the first-time authors or soon-to-be first-time authors. Jean's here for her 8th. Kim is here for her 2nd. Rhonda's here for her 2nd. Lauren for her 1st. Ben for his 1st. Allegra for her 1st. Catherine for her 1st. So lots of first-timers. If this is your first book, this is absolutely the place to start. You are absolutely in the right place. We work with first-time authors all the time, and this is the kickoff point. And Danielle's first as well. Paula here for her 2nd. The great thing about having some 2nd and 8th time authors here in this session is that we can learn from their experience. You know, experience really does help on this journey. Every one of our coaching team, and I'll just take a moment to introduce you to our coaching team today. Every one of our team is a multiple author themselves. Myself, I've done 7. Davina has done 2 with a 3rd on the way. Kerry's done 3 with a 4th on the way. Rachel just launched 2 more this year. So that takes you up to 5, I think, Rachel. Maybe more, something like that. So there's a lot of experience in the room, and we really look forward to sharing all of the wisdom with you today, whether you're first time or whether you're 8th time. So let's get into the session, and we've still got more people joining us. I want to throw it to you, first of all, for a question, for an intention. A lot of how a book happens in a week is about intention. So what brought you here today? What do you want from today's session? And as you reflect on that question, I'd love you to put the answer in the chat. We want to tailor this workshop to your needs. Make this the session that you get to the end and you go, you know what? That was so valuable. That was so worth my time. I'm really glad I showed up. What brought you here today? What is it that you're seeking? What are you wanting? Do you have specific questions? Do you have general questions? Some of you might just be here and like, you know what? I'm here to soak it all in. I'm here to soak all in. I'm here to learn from others. What is it that you're wanting? And we'll just spend a moment on this intention because, you know, I've said before, writing a book is a difficult thing to do. I'll give you some stats in a little bit, but how does a book get done in a week? It's through intention and presence. So I want to bring the word presence into the space as well, because I don't know how many months or years have you been wanting to write a book? Like, has it been, this is the next question. Has it been an idea for a while, for years, for months, for days? You know, we've certainly had people that had the idea yesterday and then they join us today and then they're, you know, writing it tomorrow. That was sort of like my journey. Lauren says she's lost count. However long it's been an idea for you, it's all good. It is all good. The longest time we've had someone do a book with us, he had it in his head for 35 years. And then he finally wrote it. So I think most people will be short of that. And the reason presence is really important is it's really easy to avoid doing your book. Who's found that? Like, just it's like easier to go that way. So the fact that you're here, that you've dedicated this time, that you've got the intention and the presence is really, really valuable and really important. So Alegria, is that how I say your name? Please. Yes, I got it right. Yeah, amazing. Getting some tips and tricks, some encouraging motivation, preparing to mentally get started and looking for the roadmap. Yes. Paula says clarity. That's a big one. Who's here for clarity? To dial in some aspect, whether it be the purpose or the vision or the message, the title, the subtitle, the structure. Clarity is a huge one. You will definitely get that today. Lauren says, I just never knew what I actually needed to do and how to put ideas into a structure. So who is here to develop an action plan today? Like, who is here to leave the session with a list? This is what I'm here. This is what I do moving forward. Fantastic. You will definitely get that. Sonia says clarity on priority, clarity. There's so much clarity coming through. Ben says, being a first-time author, there's probably some things I don't know and I didn't know that I need to address before I publish my book. So who is here to turn that conscious incompetence? So there's things that you know that you don't know. Who's here to turn that into conscious competence, where it's like, I know that this is the way I need to go. I think that's a worthy goal for all of us here. So thank you all for those hands. Lots of great intentions here. How to put ideas on paper, know the message. We'll definitely do message. The energy of book writing, yes. You will notice that a big part of how we operate at Inspirational Book Writers is, yes, there's the strategy. Yes, there's the logical, makes sense, but it's got to have the energy to back it. And I think everyone here, if you were someone that didn't really worry about energy so much, or you weren't attuned to that, I don't think you'd be here. We're very much about getting aligned messages that align with your brand, that align, we're talking heart and soul stuff, getting the best out of you that then translates, for some of you, it's, you've got business goals for your book. So a lot of this process is how to translate heart and soul into a book that can grow your business. And I think that's something that a lot of book publishers, a lot of book writing coaches, they miss that. And we'll talk about some of those places where I think they miss that. Clarity, support, encouragement, absolutely. Okay, cool. So team, as we get started today, is it okay? Look, I'm a pretty intense guy. Is it okay if this session is intense? Is it okay if it's fast? And is it okay if there's lots of info that we download to you? Can I get a thumbs up if you're on board with that? Thank you so much. That is a relief to me because I can be myself. So that's another one. Is it okay if we all just give ourselves permission to be ourselves today? Is it okay? Can I get a thumbs up if you're in for that? Kerry says, Mr. Intensity, welcome to that. Part of that is just trusting that you're going to get what you need. Even if you don't logically get it, it'll logically land maybe after or when you watch the recording. And just know there are worksheets and the recording is available to you after this. So you can go back and look at it. For this session to really rock, I'd love to invite us all to, I know book writing is an individual pursuit and it's something that, you're the one doing the push-ups, right? But we have gathered today as a collective. So if we can all get on the same page and just agree on a few things, this session is really going to rock. So I'd love to just get our buy-in on a few things. So number one, is it okay for us to royally F up today? Like for this to totally not be perfect? Yeah, can we get thumbs up for that? Honestly, if we don't have this agreement, we end up in our head, we end up ruminating, not a lot comes out. So we have to have permission to F it up. I'm probably going to F it up. Davina, Kerry, Rachel, all our coaches, they're going to F it up. We need to open that space. Silly questions. There are no silly questions. We need to do that. Number two, can we all agree to lean in and have a go, give our best effort with an answer? Even if we're feeling like maybe it's not, I don't really know if it's right, can we at least put it on the table? Can we at least have a go and move forward and lean in? Would that be okay? Can I get a thumbs up if you're in for that? Thank you very much. The thumbs up is the universal symbol of I'm with you, across countries, across languages. Love it. Let's go to the next one. And this is the important one really, is when it comes to writing a book, can we acknowledge the underlying vulnerability of this project of writing a book? Can we just name it? Yeah. Like, who's already felt a little bit of something even before you've planned it? Yeah. We're humans. It happens. There's no robots here yet. You know, we haven't merged with the robots yet. That may well happen. But there's no robots here yet. So we are humans. There is humanity to us. No one has graduated from being a human. And I'm seeing yeses even from, you know, Kim, who's just launched her book in December. And yeah, Jean Bazinkles, Bring It On. If we can acknowledge that, then we can, because often where the blocks to flow in the writing are in unacknowledged vulnerability. So if we can just keep it real like that, it's a big feature of inspirational book writers is the space that we hold and the reality check to go, you know what? There's a reason, team. Let me give you some statistics. 81% of the population say that they want to write a book every year. That's a Forbes magazine study. Every year, take a guess how many people actually complete that. Have a guess. Put it in the chat. Of the 81%, how many are actually completing a book every year? Let's see what you think. It's always 15%. Oh, Jody. So Ben says 5, less than 1, 0.5%, 2%, 4%, 5%. You are all high. All of you are high. It is 0.1%. So what does that tell us? That tells us that writing a book is something that pretty much everyone wants to do. 81%, it's almost everyone wants to do. And it's something that hardly anyone succeeds at. In any time period, let alone writing your book in a week, which is what we've built our process and system around, okay? Jean says it tells us that we need Dave, the team, and the amazing system. Thank you. And that's what we're going to unveil today, because the book map is the starting point for getting a book done in a week. And, you know, look, let me give you some other statistics. In 2023 at IBW, we launched 30 books. 28 of them were Amazon bestsellers. And of those 28, 4 were international bestsellers. So we have a method. We've been doing this since 2014. This is our 10th year. So we're starting to get to that, like, you know, 10 years to an overnight success, 10 years to actually like know what you're doing. Has anyone ever experienced that? Like, it takes time to actually know what you're doing. We're just approaching that point now. And so I'm really excited to share the book map with you today, because it's going to lay the foundation to get it done fast. I think, can I just also get a show of hands? Who here is a business owner and has a bit of a business purpose in their book? Yeah. So as a business owner, time is money. We don't want to be taking 3 years to get a book out. You've probably, like, I mean, let alone the fact that you're an attuned, evolving, fast evolving human. Like, who here moves fast? Like, are you the same person today that you are tomorrow? Like, no, you're already at another level tomorrow. So it doesn't make sense to take 3 years to get a book out. Having said that, we do want it to be of quality. And sometimes people go, oh, like the hobnobbing publishing socialists that guard the gate of publishing of traditional times. They will say, oh, you can't possibly create something that is quality in a week. I'm like, well, yes, you can. We have over 500 examples of that. If you know your material, if you are embodied in your material, and you're actually ready to express that material, you can absolutely get it done in a week. Now, if you're slightly less dialed in on your materials, slightly less embodied, meaning that maybe you have to face some of your fears as you do it, maybe you take 2 weeks to do it. Even still, pretty remarkable. Remember, this is something that most people never complete in any period of time, let alone a week. So I just want to emphasize there is a system here for getting it done way faster than anyone else. And you know, that's what we're going to share with you today. And such intense personal biz growth. Yeah, Kim has just shot through the roof after her launch. Sporadic, fast and slow, says Giselle. So on that topic of transparency, this session that we're about to dive into is the kickoff point for any of our book writers who go on to the book writing intensive to write their book in a week or to publish and launch with us. This is the kickoff point. All right. How are we doing? Been coming in hot. Let's have a stretch. Let's have a breath. Intensity, and remember to breathe and remember to move. Book writing is quite a physical thing. You'll see Kerry, when Kerry book coaches, Kerry's dancing and moving. It's like the book is coming through the body. So that is absolutely something that, that happens here. Okay. Let's do the book map. We are actually going, this is exactly what we do with our clients, okay? We're not holding anything back from you. I believe the best way to demonstrate that we can actually help you is to actually help you. So is everyone ready to roll up their sleeves and actually answer some questions and start planning out? Can I get a thumbs up if you're in for that? Love it. All right. So we never used to ask this question to begin with until about 2 years ago. And when we started asking this question, we started to notice even more grace and ease, even more flow with the books and the messages coming through. And so we begin with somewhat of a guided visualization. And so if you want to close your eyes, you can. If you want to keep them open, totally up to you. What we're going to do now is I just want you to zoom up from the present moment and go out to that point in the future where the book is complete. You've already written it. You've already taken that journey. You have published it. You can hold it in your hands. You can see it up online. You can feel the edges of the book. You're seeing it available for people online. And I want you to ask that future version of you, that future self that has already done the thing, what does that future self, what message does that future self have for the you now? What does it want you to know about the book? What does it need you to hear? What does it want you to hear? And as the ideas come through to you, feel free to write them down. Feel free to share them in the chat. What does your future self want you to know about this book? We are bringing future wisdom to the present moment. For anyone that's done timeline stuff, we're collapsing the timeline, bringing future wisdom into the now. What does it want you to know? Giselle says, keep going, keep sharing. Beautiful message. What else does your future self want you to know? Is it words of encouragement? Does it want you to know something about the importance of the book or the significance of the book in your journey? You know, books are often a gateway to the next level because it takes bravery and courage to get the book out there, to follow it through, to actually birth it into the world. And what we find is that people come to us when they're at the end of one journey and they're about to start a new journey. Like, who can feel that they're about to go to the next level? Like there's yeah, I mean, we just look at the astrology. I know some of us here are students of the astrology. I certainly am. Big shifts. Pluto in Aquarius for 20 years, starting later this week. Like, holy Batman, right? Colleen says it'll be empowering. Rachel says, you got to do this, girl. You've always had it in you. Who's felt like it's always, this message has always been in you? Yeah, a few people hearing that. Rhonda, the collective needs to know that this is possible and you're the proof. Who's relating to that? Like, this book allows you to be a role model. There's a leadership element to it. That's often what the future selves say to the present you now is they're like, hey, step up, speak, express, take up space, take up presence. And I know that that potentially might, in the nervous system, it might be like, oh, you know, just know there's a journey here. It's not like, you know, let's say you do the book map, you write your book tonight. It's not like tomorrow it goes on Amazon. I mean, it could, that is possible. But there's an opportunity to acclimatize to where you're heading, to integrate and to embody. Some great answers coming through. Lauren, it's going to change your life. Who feels the profoundness of their book? Does anyone relate to that one? It's always been a big gateway for me. Every time I write a book, I knew I'm at a new chapter. Kate says, enjoy the process, write for the joy of it. Yeah, who had that come through? Maybe if you've been putting pressure on yourself, overthinking, ruminating, maybe that's been choking out the creativity. Yeah, love it, love it, love it. This is exactly what the world needs to hear. You have so much fun doing it. I wonder if Kerry could just, Kerry or Davina, can you speak to us about fun, the importance of fun in this process? I'm going to send it, well, maybe let's get a snippet from Kerry and a snippet from Davina on this. The importance of fun, Kerry, to this process.
If you come and join us in IBW Book Writing Week, you will inevitably find that when I get on calls, as Dave said, there is always some sort of dancing fun party. I've even gotten you guys, there's a light now in my room that literally, Dave, we're going to have parties because it's strobe lights. No word of a lie. Colorful strobe lights. So I'm saying this because fun to me, like if you are not having fun doing this, like it's a really, truly joyful, abundantly wonderful, I find it orgasmically pleasurable, fun process. And a lot of people find this a daunting thing, but when you're in a container where it is served and stable and supportive for you, you can have so much fun. And then through that process, it's easy to get out. You'll get this out in a few days.
Beautiful. Davina, anything you'd like to add to that about fun? I know on book writing weeks, we often bring a bit of pirate energy, a bit of dance party. For you, you've done this now 7 years. And that's another thing, team. Our team experience, multiple time authors. Davina's basically an institution in the book writing world known as the Oracle. What's the role of fun for you, Davina?
So I'm going to say a caveat right now. I am not as fun as Kerry. I don't do the dance parties. I do bring the pirate energy though. And I think I'm a little bit funny sometimes, just a little bit. And Dave and I often have like dad jokes versus mum jokes. So, you know, sometimes they're bad, but sometimes they're fun. I think what's really important to note here is that we're all guilty of it, but you can get so caught up in your head about what you think you need to do or say or to be clever or smart or authoritative or this or that or whatever, you know, goes on in the mind. But that can also block you up. So you have to have fun. It's like part of the creative process, literally. And to be in flow and to get a book out in a week, you know, you can't be constipated with all these thoughts of like, I should be this, I should be that, blah, 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 blah. So the more you can open up to your creativity and have fun, the easier the ride will be, the more it'll flow, and you'll actually enjoy the experience.
Can I get a thumbs up if you're in for some of that fun? You know, aside from book writing, like just in life, I mean, the last couple of years have been pretty damn difficult, right? Like, let's lighten up and start to enjoy life a bit more. Beautiful. Okay, so loads and loads of answers there. we're going to drop in one level deeper now to the book map. And we're going to talk about the 3 purposes for your book. Okay. The 3 purposes for your book. Now, what you'll notice, I'll just give you one other overview before we start to drop in even more. You'll notice we start very big picture, and through this workshop, we're going to get more and more and more specific. So when it comes to purpose, I want us to consider the purpose consider the purpose of your book from 3 angles. Number 1 is personally. Why is it important that you get your book out? Is it from a leadership level? Is it from something that you just know you need to do? It's a soul thing. You just know. It's like, and you've known for a while. Is it something that's in your heart or in your body and just has to come out? Is it something that the world needs to know? Is it honoring someone? We have a lot of people who write books to honor a person or dedicate to a person. So personally, why is it important? Professionally, this is the second purpose. Professionally, why is your book important? And we can really break this down quite a lot. So for those of you that have businesses, a lot of people are writing books. Is it okay if I just spitball on some of the purposes and you guys just pick the ones that work for you? Yeah. So a lot of people are writing books to cement their authority and credibility in their space, to own their corner of the internet, to own their space and their presence. I didn't make the rules. I did a post on it earlier this week. When you write a book, people look at you different. It's just a fact. I got treated like royalty in Australia Post. She wanted to touch my skin. I'm like, okay. She didn't actually, but she was like, I'm not saying you're going to be touched, but what I am saying is it elevates the perception of who you are. And here's the other thing. Not only is it a perception, it is real and embodied, especially the way that we do books. You cannot get to the published stage. You cannot get to launch unless you're embodied in your message. Partly because one of the values that we hold dear in our company, in our business, is integrity. Like, if we just look out into the world, like, can we swear and be pirates here? Is that cool? There's a lot of bullshit, right? There's a lot of out of integrity. You hear people say something, but then you don't feel the truth of it. It's like, I'm hearing you. It just doesn't feel like you're telling me the truth. Those people don't even get in the front door at Book Writers because there's such an alignment and integrity that is held at the back. You become an embodied integrous. I'm just going to make up a word. Also, permission to make up words. Permission to also quote yourself. Okay, I think quoting yourself, especially for Australians, is maybe something we hold back on. It's like, oh, I wouldn't quote myself. I don't want to be a tall poppy. It's like, screw that. Quote yourself. If you're not going to quote yourself, why would anyone else quote you? Quote yourself. Can I get a thumbs up if you're in for quoting yourself? Because who knows, your own quote becomes a tweetable. Next thing you know, it's shared, it's blah, blah, it's all through the internet. And who's got a Kindle? Who reads books on Kindle? You know the highlighter part where you can it's like 4,086 people highlighted this section. It's like, why don't you be the first person? Highlight that, maybe start the train. Anyway, we're on a bit of a piece here. Authority, credibility, influence that then opens the doors to bigger and better stages. We have a lot of people that want to do speaking and they use their book to get on stages or go from national stages to international stages. We have a lot of people that use their book to get on podcasts. We've got case studies that are, on our website. Some of our book writers didn't have an audience in the US, wanted an audience in the US, used the book to get on podcasts in the US. Next thing you know, they've got a US client base. What else have we got? One way that we use our book, Write, Publish, Launch, is this gets sent out to prospects or people can buy it for like $4.95 on our website. And then invariably, that micro sale then leads to a sale of our bigger product. So if you've got a course or a done for you, or you've got coaching or something of that nature, a mastermind or a retreat, something of that nature, when they spend money, it indicates, even if it's 99 cents at launch time, like, what's the difference between free and when someone actually reaches into their pocket and gives you 99 cents? They are a customer. They have indicated their willingness to spend money with you. And the number of times book writers in our world, they offer their book for low price, and then the next purchase is 5 or 10K or 15 or 20 or 25K. Happens all the time. That's what happens with this book all the time. Yes. Yeah, Kerry's a great example of this, spoken on international stages, been on podcasts internationally. Who here has a message where their intention for their book is to get greater exposure and greater reach? Is that part of it for you? Yep, lots of people there. I say the book is like the golden handshake that opens the door to where you want to go. And so when we're looking at purpose and vision, this is the segment of the book map where we get clear, what are the doors that you want to open for you? What are the doors? For me, this specifically was for people to try us out for a small price. And if they decided they liked our vibe, they liked our method, that then they would buy into our programs. That was like pretty much the sole purpose. I've written other books for other reasons. I've written personal branding books so people can get to know me personally, right? I think that's also a very worthy goal. Like if it's your purpose, if you're bringing your products and services to the market, and maybe you're not so well known, or you're just starting out or something like that, or maybe you're in a new niche, or maybe you're already in something but you want greater visibility. A book is like it's like, I'm here and I have something to offer, and here's what I've got to offer. Here, have my book. So a lot of people who are at a transition point, we get a lot of people who have like been in corporate, and then they're writing their book to launch their consultancy or their workshop training. That happens a lot. People changing niches, they were in one space, like real estate, and now they're in coaching or something like that. It can be a real gateway. So for you, can we get some ideas in the chat here? What are the purposes for you? Why are you doing this? Like personally and on a professional level. What is it for you? And I wonder if we could invite maybe 1 or 2 shares of 20 or 30 seconds. Jean, I wonder if you'd care to share your purpose, either personally and or professionally. What's been the purpose for you for this book? I know this is number 8.
The purpose is I have a series of 13 based on my secret codes to success. And so that's one of the purposes, number 8. It's also a cathartic process, but it's number 18. How can it be cathartic on number 8? Because my first book in 2016 with Dave was the Jean Sheen story, but I still left out bits. And so it's like, no, just share. So then on the professional level, it expands the audience. I've been very blessed since my first book in 2016 to travel the world, speak on cruise ships, universities, schools, all sorts of things, continually podcasts and whatever. So there is a strong business side. There's still a cathartic side as well, which I find every time I write, it's like, okay, another cleared and whatever as well. So yeah, that's my thing as such. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And I think what Jean touches on is that she's doing her 8th, right? And she's still experiencing the human journey of that. I really want us to get that. Yeah. Really, really want that to sink in. Yeah, definitely cathartic. Ben says to promote my new business to corporate clients and also to sell to a wider market online. Yes. So for some people, they use the purpose of the book is to develop brand online, so that when people go and look up your stuff, maybe you meet someone out and about in the real world, They hear what you're about, whether it's at a party, a barbecue, networking, trade meetings, whatever it happens to be, wherever you meet someone. If you connect with them, what typically happens? You then connect online, right? That happens to people, or is that just me? That happens to people, right? When they go and look you up, they'll look what you've got. And so they go and find Ben's stuff. They know what he's on. They know they can download his book. They can get to know him even more. A book creates the way I like to think about it is it's somewhere between a 1 and 5 hour read, depending on the length of the book, where you have basically a private moment with the reader. Like there's that intimacy, there's that connection. You get to be inside their head. You get to have hours of your voice inside their head, especially if you do an audiobook. How crazy is that? In a world where attention is currency, particularly in business, for them to have your book and have your voice in their head, think about the rapport that creates. Amazing. Lauren says, I never thought I actually had a story to tell and I want to see that it has value. Who can relate to that? Who's at a point of like, yeah, very, very common. So here's one thing I want to say about that is I had a similar thought back in 2011 when I started my coaching business and I started a podcast. And I was doing an episode, I was talking about values, how to connect to your values in life and live your life according to your values. And I thought, yeah, every man and his dog, every person on human earth has talked about values. And so we did this episode. I was mostly practicing for myself, right? I was at the early stages of my career. And then we get this email from some lady in, some town starting with M, somewhere in the US. I can't remember what it was called. I'd never heard of it before. And she says, Dave, thank you so much for that podcast on values. I have spent 20 years studying personal development, studying spirituality. I have studied with Deepak Chopra, with Wayne Dwyer, and I have never understood values until you said it the way that you did, because I'd told some story about some adventure I'd been on. And that just hit me like a brick in the face. I was like, whoa, there is real power in the way that you uniquely say your message, in the way that you uniquely put your story out, right? Because it's the classic, who's ever been in a relationship where you're telling your partner, hey, this is what I think you need to do in order to go to the next level or solve your problem. And they just don't hear you at all. And then their friend walks in, says exactly the thing that you were just telling them. And they're like, wow, I get it. I get it. Thank you. And you're like, I just told you that. Sometimes we can only hear it from the people that we can hear it from. And so there is value in your story. There is value in the way you say it. Here's where it depowers. Lauren, and everyone, if you try and say it to try and be like someone else, that's when it depowers. Does this make sense? We've got one of our authors who is amazing at branding. And she says that probably 5 times a week, she gets someone in her inbox saying, hey, can you do me a brand? Like insert big name. If I said the name, you would know. Insert big name spiritual coach. And she's like, no, I'm not going to make you like her, but I will make you like you. Because that's where the cut through is. Because I think we're moving away from a guru type market into a more relatable hero, leader of community model. So you don't need to have a massive list or a massive following to be able to make great money with your book in your business. You just need the right people aligned to your values and aligned to your message. And the book is something that can really help you to, so we're talking purposes. Book is massively important for attracting ideal clients. And that's why it's important, Lauren and everyone, for you to be who you are. And why did I mention that we're pirates at the start of this call? Because if you're not okay with us being pirates, it's probably not going to work out for us to move forward together, right? why did Kerry talk about dance party and orgasmic pleasure during a book writing thing? If that's not okay with you, you're probably not going to move forward with us. Does this make sense? So we are presenting this. These are our values so that you can either buy in or not buy in. And that's what you want to create with your book. Is you want to be you, say who you are, say what you've got to offer in the way that you've got to offer it, and then the reader can decide. Is this making sense, team? Can I get a thumbs up if you're receiving this? Yeah. What's landing? Can we just get a couple of reflections in the chat? What are you receiving from this here? Yes, you can be your own hero. Yep. Whoever's logged in as iPhone says love it. I love all the names that happen. Yeah, the great answers here. The magic is inside me. Find my own voice. Use it. Be authentic. The right people will align. It's okay for me to say it in the way that I say it. Yes, how relieving is that? So relieving. Be yourself unapologetically. Message to share in my own unique way. Message has value. Yes. Now, let's be clear on this. Our job, should we decide to do something together and you decide to enlist our support in your book, our job is to tell you where you're waffling, or to tell you where you've told a story that doesn't align with your purpose, or to tell you where, maybe Rachel can just drop a little snippet here. Rachel's on our editing team. Rachel does the snippet reviews during the book writing intensive. Like sometimes, Rachel, you receive manuscripts where people have held it back and you can tell. What's that been like for you?
Yeah, I would say that's a very common thing to find in a first draft of a manuscript. And there's always, little bits of self-doubt that need to be worked through. And even just some undoing of maybe what you heard from an English teacher in high school, or, what you heard about what publishing is. So it's really discovering like what you have to say internally, and then just finding the confidence to say that. I think one great example would be Derek Strokan's book that I helped edit. He was constantly paring back the humor in his voice, and he is hilarious. Like the humor in his voice was one of the best parts about reading his book. And so we would just kind of say like, okay, let's bring that out more, like lean into that, show us that, give us that real version of you. So yeah, I think hopefully that answers your question.
100%. Yeah. Who got something there from Rachel? Some sort of reassurance, or like, yeah, yep, love it. Love it, love it. We do spend a lot of time on purpose because all the decisions that we're about to make lower in the book map relate to your purpose. Okay, so it's all going to unfold in a moment. The other thing that I want you to consider right now as the third purpose, we've talked about personally, what's the purpose? Professionally, what's the purpose? The third purpose is, what is the purpose of the book for the reader? What do you want them to do? What do you want them to receive? So for me, with Write, Publish, Launch, I wanted to start a conversation. So I wanted them to book a call with me. That was basically it. Ben Dorat, I imagine that you would have a similar sort of purpose for the reader. At the end of the day, you want them to connect with you in a certain way, book a call or some sort of connection point. So deciding what that connection point is. That's sort of the what you're wanting the reader to get personally. On a professional, on a business sort of what you're hoping they will do. You might answer this from a more deeper, soulful perspective, which is like, I really hope that the reader receives hope or inspiration, or that they are inspired to start back on their journey, or they are inspired to change, or that the reader actually takes action with what I've said, or that the book is a memorable experience in their life, one of those books they keep on their shelf forever and ever and refer to everyone, and they go, that was the book that changed my life. And I'll tell you as well, some people, some people say, I just want the book to help one person. And I know that that might sound like a low bar, but if it can't help one person, how's it going to help 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or 50 or 100? So when someone says to me, I want this book to help at least one person, I know that they've got a foundation of almost humility that they can then build from and go and then get the momentum going. Because you get that there's momentum in how the book spreads through word of mouth. Like, hey, you've got to get this copy out. You've got to share this with your friends. Awesome. Yeah, so Lauren's got a great one here. Purpose for the reader: to find someone like them who has done what they want to do and to start a community. So communities, part of the way we teach book launches is in the pre-launch and the pre-launch phases, start your community, build your author platform, build your brand, build your community so that when you're launching, you are launching your book to a warm or hot audience. Sometimes the hesitation in people is like, yeah, I'm not even going to start my book because who would even read it? And so I'm not going to start. But when you build the community from the outset, while it's being written, while it's being published, by the time you get to that launch moment, you've got, so our book writers, the reason why they're going Amazon bestseller, the reason why they're getting the success that they're getting is because that they started building their audience in advance. Does that make sense? Yeah, so there's a bit of forward planning there. All right. Davina, anything I've missed here? Anything we need to drop in at this point? Nope, we're good. Let's have a stretch. Let's have a breath. Oh, cool. Yeah, knockdowns are not permanent, relatable, real person. I'll just speak to this for a second. Sometimes when people get a bad review on Amazon or something like that, it's not nice to receive something like that. And I just say to them, welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club of people who are actually in the arena, doing something of note, making something of their life, aiming to contribute. Let's not worry about the people from the cheap seats throwing rocks. Hey, I mean, let's part of what, and look, that happens so rarely, but I just name it because a lot of people hold back because they don't want to, they think they're going to receive negative messages. The truth is that when you write your book in such a way, when you're really connected to your values and you're being who you are and you're saying, when you frame up your introduction, we'll talk about intros in a minute, when you frame your introduction in a way that very clearly creates an opt-in, opt-out, you get those not ideal people out the door. They don't even come close. It's a rare moment. Yeah, so what we're looking to create is ideal readers reading your book. Yeah, at least you have the balls to give it a go. 100%. So let's go into vision now. And this is a question of what does success look like for your book? And we're looking at this from a micro scale to a macro scale. So micro is like you receive an email from someone saying, thank you so much, that book changed my life. Someone stops you in your local area at your cafe and says, oh my gosh, you're Colleen, you wrote that book. Thank you so much. That has happened multiple times to me. It's actually a cool feeling. I think the like micro, I wouldn't even say micro influencer, and I really hesitate to use the word influencer at all, but like having some fame and status in like the tiniest niche on the internet, I think is actually, for me personally, it's the best type of that. Like I would not want to be Hollywood famous. The camera's on me all the time. I like my cave time. I like escaping from the world. I'd be like, please go away. But it is nice for people in the space to go, hey, I know you. What do you see your book doing out in the world? Everything from the micro through to the macro. And the macro might be this This completely launches your new business. This book is the gateway to connections, collaborations, speaking on stages, doors opening onto podcasts, onto exposure. And this can also be, as Davina said in the chat here, how is your book being received? So what do you see in your vision? Like, are people getting it online? Are they reading it on their Kindle? Do they have copies on their shelf and they're doing Instagram posts? Are they listening to it, audiobook version? Is the book on the seat of every participant who is sitting in your workshop or sitting in the crowd while you present? Are you doing collaborations with complementary service providers? You know, when I first got into book writing back in the day, the only person I knew that wrote a book was my good friend Matt Kelly, and he's a business marketing guy. He wrote a book on outsourcing, you know, how to outsource tasks offshore. He wrote a book on it, and he got in touch with Elance. So some of you might know Elance from back in the day. It's Upwork now. Basically, they're a marketplace of freelancers where you can go and find freelancers to do work for you. And my friend Matt had his book and he was talking to the marketing director at Elance. Now, do you think a book about how to outsource, like that would be a pretty amazing collaboration for that book to be sent out to the entire list of subscribers of the Elance company? Massive opportunity for collaboration. Matt just happened to be very young and dumb and demanded a high price per copy that was sent out. The deal fell through because he demanded a price. He should have just gone, have it for free, send it to your 1.5 million subscribers, because that exposure is massively worth it. So exposure, doors that open, collaborations. Ben, ever since I got your email last night, I've just been thinking collaborations. Your book goes out through email to complementary service providers or businesses. So what is it for you? What's the micro? What's the macro? What are you receiving here? Let's get some ideas in the chat so we can share what we're receiving. As we've got some answers coming in, Kerry, have you got anything? We call Kerry the lightning. I wonder if you've got any, not to put any pressure on the lightning, but anything you'd like to add to this conversation about vision for success, macro, micro?
I remember, Dave, when I first came into IBW and started writing, and he was talking about this, and he was probably sharing that same exact story that he just shared. And I remember he said to me, Carrie, you can take your book and you can sell it like 200 when you go and speak. And I went, you're full of shit, Dave. What are you talking about? Or this person's going to like, no, what are you talking about? Or you're going to be on an international stage. All these things, they were all like, you're nuts. Probably where you guys are sitting, you might think that too. And no word of a lie, I had no idea how I would do it. I had no idea, except that I showed up and I went through the process. And at the end of the process, I'm on international stages with an international podcast. And like, it happens, like people want your book and people do come up to you and start saying it. And I think the thing is that when you sit in that seat, I invite you to expand beyond what you think your wildest imagination could have, because it doesn't have to know how, you just have to trust this process. We've done this enough to know that it works. And that even when you have no idea, even if you've never written a book, even if you have no idea how to write the book, even if you've never had a speaking presentation, anything, like this stuff just starts to show up and it's kind of magical.
What Kerry's speaking to there is the trust of stepping forward despite the uncertainty.
Yeah.
So who can acknowledge that there is a fair amount of uncertainty in the process of writing a book? I'm seeing Paula nodding. Yeah, lots of thumbs up. Paula's just getting to the launch stage of her first book, which is coming out February 24. There's a lot of uncertainty to navigate. However, the more curious we are, the answers always drop. the other parts of the business also drop. So maybe, Kerry, you can just speak to, you were doing the book. What else landed physically, infrastructure-wise in your business during that period?
This book mapping session that we're going through changed my life 3.5 years ago when we did this the first time. I literally showed up and I said to Dave, 3 days prior, I had said to people, you guys, I've written 1 million words in the last few years. I wonder what would happen if I actually put some words into a book. And I had seen Dave do this online the first time in January. And 3 days later, it said, hey, we can do this now. And I was like, what the? I got to go do it. And when we did the book mapping, and I think 4 weeks later, I was writing my book. It's kind of like what Dave's talking about. We did our book mapping session like 2 weeks later. I had no idea. I was like a mess. I had no idea. I was like, I know I'm supposed to be doing some of this work in the world. And it landed and concreted my entire message. And from that place, I have been able to write content, write my podcast, grow a following, really support people. And on a financial level, I was able to sell a $12,000, $13,000 a year mastermind that gave me a shit ton of, financial freedom in my business that I would not have been able to do had I not had the credibility from a book and my podcast. So one of the things that I love about IBW personally is it creates the structure and the stability to be able to do things, or the structure and the, what's the other word I want to say, Dave?
Framework.
Structure and the framework. Thank you. To be able to do so many things that we didn't know that you could do before, because you have this beautiful container that you just have to literally, I mean, like one of the things they say is it's like a
train?
A conveyor belt. It's the word, right? And you just have to go onto the conveyor belt. You need to know nothing else. I didn't know anything else either. And my entire world completely transformed, which led me into a shit ton of other stuff if we talk about the cathartic processes of it. But on a business level, it was massive. And I didn't know anything more than I have to write a book, and I have a whole bunch of jumbled mess in my head before that.
Love it. So perhaps this is the opportunity for you to expand your vision of what you'd like to call in to land alongside the book. Because the book in isolation is fantastic, and the possibility exists for so many other things to come in as well. I've actually seen people over the last 10 years, someone said that they lost 100 kilograms while they wrote their book over the course of a year, or while they actually published 2 in a year. I've seen someone go from like completely heartbroken in a relationship, left that relationship, healed heart, into a new relationship, and then a year later marrying the man of their dreams, because that was an intention that was set alongside the book. Now, we're not going to market like, hey, this person wrote a book and lost 100 kilos. Like, people are going to think like, that's weird. What I'm emphasizing is that a book is a creative portal. I'm going to go woo-woo and very energetic here. It is a creative portal. You are bringing ideas from the ether. You are connecting to the divine and bringing it into the physical. If anyone has read Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic, has anyone seen that one or read that one? Yep, a few people here. She talks about how ideas are just floating out there in the ether, waiting for someone who is ready, willing, and able to bring the idea through. And if it's not you, then the idea will jump. And what you'll happen, so one of our book writers who signed up this time last year to the book writing intensive, the exact book she wanted to write, some new upstart in the birth space was writing her book. And she was like, this cannot stand. That's my idea. I must do it. And so she's doing it. Yeah. iPhone says, that was great, Kerry, and made so much sense. I really like to get people's names right. So I apologize, iPhone, for just referring to you as iPhone. But thank you for your comments. I really do appreciate them. Cool. This, I think, is the segue, is what Kerry was talking about, is aligned message. This is the segue into the next level, which is about message. So a great book has a very, very clear message that is instantly understandable from an outside observer looking at it for the first time. That's the standard we want to get to, because let me pose this situation to you. Can't change iPhone says can't. It's Jacqueline. Awesome. Jacqueline iPhone. All good. Great to know you by your proper name. Here's the thing with complexity. If someone looks at your front cover and they don't get it immediately, are they going to pass on the message? Are they going to tell their friends? Are they going to tell their friends about the book they read at the dinner party? They're not. They're not going to pass on complex. Why? Because if I'm at a dinner party, I don't want to look like a goose. I don't want to be like, oh, well, there's this book. It's about this and this, kind of like that. But if I can pass on an idea, if I can pass on a message that is succinct, that is crisp, and this is where we get to a bit of a teach segment on book titles. We want book titles to be between 1 and 5 words, typically. That's a rule of thumb. Sometimes it's longer. Sometimes it is appropriate for a longer title, but typically 1 to 5 words. More often 1 to 3 words. Because we want that snippet to be easily communicable. Seth Godin, in his book, Unleash the Idea Virus, talks about this exact thing. He talks about how people will pass on something that is very short and sharp and snappy and makes sense. Because think about it. If I receive your book, you know, I just happen to be looking at Cherie. Imagine I read your book, Cherie, and it's really easy and it makes sense and I get it instantly. I'm going to look smart at my dinner party telling people about your message, right? I want to look smart. Everyone wants that at a dinner party. If it's complex, I'm not going to pass it on. Is this making sense, team, on the importance of simplicity? And sometimes you've got to do reps on this. Yeah, thanks for the thumbs up. Sometimes you've got to do a few reps because sometimes it's not quite right. And maybe we can bring in Davina here for a snippet because Davina, we call you the oracle in book writing world because what I've observed in you is you just absolutely know when there's a word out of place, when it's not quite the right energy, when it's not quite aligned. Can you just speak to how that is and why that's important?
Sure. I just feel it, like I think in this day and age, we're all smart people here. And especially with all the shenanigans that has gone on in the last couple of years, people's bullshit radars are finally attuned. And so words are energies as well, and they're super powerful, right? And I remember hearing at school, sticks and stones will hurt you. What is it? Break your bones, but names will never hurt you. Well, I actually call bullshit on that because it's not actually true, right? Because words stick longer and can hurt, like even after a bruise or something's healed up. And our words have the potential to hurt or harm someone. Start again. Heal or hurt someone. And so when you're thinking and coming from a place of contribution and you are intentional with your words, those things, like those little things, matter. And so you know whether a word is off or whether you have said something that's not quite, whether you're holding back on something or whether it's not quite aligned or whether it could be better or whether you could put more heart in or whether you're, we had a book writer that launched with us just before Christmas. And I had said to her, like, because I know somebody who was her mentor, and I said, I don't want to hear that person's voice. I want to hear you. I want to hear your voice. I'm not here to buy a book from them. I'm here to buy a book from you. So I think it's super important that no matter who you look up to, who your mentors are, or anything in those spaces, that it's really important that you bring through your own voice, because as Dave said before, your people can only hear your message from you.
Love it. Love it. And I might get Rachel to add on to this, if I may, Rachel. Like you do the snippets, you do the read reviews in the publishing process. Like, one of our jobs, team, like if you choose to continue with us and get our support, either join the book writing intensive or publish your book with us in Publish and Launch, is our job is to look with a fine tooth comb where you've like, you're on the note, like you've hit the note, and where it's like, no, actually that actually sounds like someone else. That's not landing. That's not resonating. Hey, you're holding that back. It's not strong enough. It's, you know, all these sort, like the subtle flavors. That's how deep we're going on this. We want every note to hit so that it becomes a masterpiece. This is kind of like singing the song of your soul, making sure each note is on. So Rachel, from your perspective as an editor and snippet review and like book writing coach, what are you looking for? What do you see? What are you commonly commenting on?
You must have read my mind because I wanted to jump in right now. So one thing, what Davina was speaking to of like being able to hone in your message and be clear, I think one of the biggest values in the group is that you're having a chance to have these conversations with real people about your book and speak it out loud. And the clarity that comes as you do that and iterate through that is fantastic. We had one gal in, I think it was the June intensive last year. And I remember we broke out into one-on-one breakout rooms, and she was talking to me about her book, and she was not yet clear on what it was or where she was going with it. And to watch her from that moment to writing the draft to putting it out there and launching it, like just the massive amount of clarity that she got versus that initial conversation where she was like, well, I don't really know. You know, she couldn't talk about her book yet, but she got there. So that's one piece of it that I think, you know, some people don't realize. We're helping you do the writing, but we're also helping you do the act of talking about your book and being able to sell it and, you know, explain it and have it really come through very clearly and quickly. On the writing side of it, you know, there are a lot of fine-tooth comb type of details that, you know, most people need help with. And, you know, we don't want you to feel stressed out about things like spelling and grammar and punctuation and all those teeny little details that I would say I'm in the minority in that I love that stuff. You know, like I could sit and talk to you about dashes and different style choices, and I love that, but I don't need you to love that in order to do your book, if that makes sense. Yeah, so being able to do both sides of it, the speaking and sharing, and also, you know, the grammar and the style itself within the writing.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Team, I wonder if you'd be open to a bit of a play for just a couple of minutes with some titles and subtitles. So if you've got a title or subtitle, just put it in the chat. And if you're open to us freestyling on it, we'll see if we can drop some thoughts and really bring this to life for you. And this is something that in the book writing weeks, the book writing intensives, we actually do an entire session where you get to be in the hot seat with your book title and get feedback from the group, from the coaches, like, have you dialed it in really, really tightly? Are you hitting the right notes? So if you care to share, let's freestyle on some titles and subtitles. While we're getting some answers, I'll give you a little bit. Okay, we've got one here from Alegria. Title, Honoring the Sacred or Expressing the Sacred? I like it. Davina, look to the Oracle for nods. If you're getting nods from the Oracle, you know you're on. I'd be curious if you have a subtitle for that, Alegria, because here's the thing with titles, often they're sort of words or phrases that invoke curiosity, and then it's the subtitle that grounds the message and often has a lot more words. You can almost go to town with words in a subtitle in order to tell. I always say subtitles are the meat and potatoes. Tell people what they are getting. You are getting meat and potatoes. You are getting 4 meat, 4 potatoes. That is what you are getting. And I think that's something that at Book Writers as well, we always aim to be as explicit and with what it is. Like you walk down the street, it says laundromat on the shop. You're like, you know what that means, right? Like it does what it says on the tin. It says write your book in a week on the tin. That's what it does. Like, let's not get into this internet marketing hoo-ha. Colleen says breakthrough to freedom. Great. So for 3 words, I like it. Again, I would need to know subtitle to see if that lands. And again, we're tying all of these titles, subtitles, we're tying them to your ideal reader, which is often your target audience. So there's a whole conversation around target audience. Ben says, I don't have a title, but subtitle is your complete guide to a productive home office. So you can see how there's meat and potatoes there. There's quite a lot of clarity. Did you notice nods in the room, Ben, from some people there? My curiosity would be, is it an even tighter niche? For example, if you said your complete guide to a productive home office for corporate work at home people, for entrepreneurs, stay at home, work at home, home-based businesses, possibly you could tighten it. You don't have to. I'm not sure where your market is. Just an idea. And you'll notice that when you've got a subtitle, you can, subtitles are often where you tighten and dial in on the niche. So you don't, some people will go really, really specific because they know I work with this tiny, tiny, tiny segment of people. I work with Brisbane-based mothers in their 30s with 2 kids who live in the suburbs and do yoga. It's like, they're so tight. Like, it's so narrow. Not everyone has that tight of a niche. A lot of people are a bit more broad. Danielle says, presence and power. So I really like that. I like that as a title. Unlocking your potential for a fully expressed life. I feel that as there's an upness, there's an openness in that. I think the cover art would be able to, the way the cover art comes across would help you to determine, would help you to target. So for example, as a contrast, if that book is written for a corporate audience, I'd be using a deeper blue and more straight edges and straighter fonts. This is a level of detail we go into, is like, is your font choice speaking to your ideal reader? Like, is that color hitting the mark? Because you put the wrong color in, or let's say you use Comic Sans as a font and you're looking to speak to corporate, it's like, it's not going to fly. So yeah, Danielle, I would be looking at the artwork, both the colors and the font choice, to support that in targeting who you're targeting. Does that make sense, Danielle? Yeah.
Dave, Kate's got a great title and subtitle combination here, which illustrates the point really beautifully.
Do you want to speak to it?
The Beauty Way, the transformational power of feminine self-care. Now, you can tell with that title and subtitle combination, exactly, even without seeing it, exactly what you're going to get in that book. You can feel can you all feel like, this is what we were talking about before, the feeling, but you can feel the power in that. And everyone's like, oh yeah, I know what automatically you register. It's like, oh, I know what this book's about, without even seeing anything else, just because she's hit the right notes with the title and subtitle.
That one is like good to go.
Yeah.
Like, put that on a cover. You could print that tonight. The other thing that I'll just share in Kate's one here is there's a subtlety. There's an energy of forward motion, of evolution and advancement and lift in the beauty way. What does that word way presuppose? That there's a path, that there's a process, that there's a way to go. So I really like that. And sometimes that's the feedback we're giving to people is, yeah, I like it, but it needs a bit more forward motion energy. Because isn't that like most of it, like pretty much everyone here is writing a book in order to get the reader to take action of some type, to transform them in some way. Yeah. That's pretty much everyone here. So you've got to have some sort of forward motion. Abby says 0 to 100 in music. Okay. Pair a subtitle with that. And that would really land of who that is for. So 0 to 100, that is suggestive of a journey. I know it's about music. Yeah, it's like it's got in headlights. If I want to advance in music, it's got me there, but I need to know more specifically. Let's see what else we've got here. Rhonda says definitely getting clarity, no idea on title. I'll tell you this, if you don't know your title at this point, that is okay. As long as you've got a clear statement of what your purpose is, the title can drop in later. We have people that write books and then the title comes later. So just don't, no one unnecessarily freak out on that. Kim says tantric law for a powerful ecstatic orgasmic divorce. Okay, or something like that. So speaking to the divorce, people going through divorce, and to the possibility of it being a powerful ecstatic orgasmic experience, that would be a pattern interrupt for a lot of people. I don't know if you've been through divorce, it's not always, people would think it's like a hard thing. So if you've got a way to transform that, or yeah, Kerry's got another one here, Tantric Uncoupling, a guide to orgasmic divorce, right? So this is what we do, is sometimes we've got to play with these ideas. Like the fact that Kim's just gone, hey, this is my idea. And then we spitball and then we bounce and then we refine and we get ideas. This is how titles are created. It's, you know, if you've got a working title at the moment, don't think that like that's all there is. Input is so valuable. Yeah, Kate's grateful for the feedback. Ben Dorat, Living Balance, your complete guide to a productive home office. Right, so now it's speaking to values. If I want to live in balance, so that's tighter. Abby says 0 to 100 in music, EFT for healing and performance. Great, so now we know it's about EFT. Now we know it's about healing. Now we know it's about performance. See the nods from the Oracle, the group's nodding. It's like you're on your way, Abby. You're on your way. I don't think it's quite it, but it's on its way. Yep, and look, all the coaches are nodding. Take that as a sign that you're on the right path. Scared Sacred. Yes, so a bit of a play on words. SS. Overcoming and embodying the silver lines of trauma. Great subtitle. Super clear. Super clear. All of our coaches, big backgrounds in trauma, completely understand it, have coached it, healed it, worked with it. Davina's a counselor, got counselor training. Paula Fenwick, authentic leadership, being real and getting results. Great, so bold statement. Cool. How is all of that landing with you, team? Making sense? Did you get some good ideas from that work, from that message piece? Can I get a thumbs up if that was useful for you? Thank you, thank you. So let's have a stretch. Yeah, Rachel says impressed with titles. We've got working titles. Have a stretch, have a breath. We've got working titles, right? We've got working titles. And this is the name of the game, is just piece by piece, where there was uncertainty, you replace it with certainty. That's what the journey ahead looks like, is just continue to answer questions until the fullness of the book comes out. And as Davina said, it's okay if you haven't got it yet too. All right. Shall we talk structure, team? We've got structure, and then we've got 3 questions to finish. And then if it's okay with you all, I know some of you here are already signed up for the book writing intensive in February. I know some people are interested in coming. Would it be okay if I spent the last 10 minutes or so sharing with you about what that looks like if you want to continue with us? Is that cool? Can I get a thumbs up? Yep. Amazing. So let's do structure. Let me say the first thing about structure. All the other book writing coaches that I have ever seen strangle creativity by applying too many boxes. Can anyone relate to that? Like trying to fit into a box, and it's like, but I'm a square peg and you're trying to put me in a circle hole. Like that doesn't feel good. and I feel like I'm just doing an assignment at home. Like, where is the art in what you're doing? So number one idea with structure is it's got to feel good and it's got to make sense. And so what does that practically mean? Well, some examples. We had a chiropractor work with us in 2017. She's back for her second book now. First run through of her book, it was about nutrition and all different aspects of nutrition. First run through, the book was very sciencey, as you would expect from a chiropractor. It made sense. It was structured really well, but it didn't feel very good to read. You guys know what I mean? Has anyone ever read a sciencey book and been like, oh, that was hard work, right? First draft through, yep, Kerry's nodding, everyone's saying yes. First run through, very dry, but great structure. So on her second run through, she added emotion. She started to make it feel good, right? Her end product was a book that had an impeccable structure and felt really good to read. You were reading this like quite honestly, quite heavy science, but it felt good. It felt like you were able to consume it. Now, the flip of that is some people we get come in here and they're channeling spirit guides. They're mediums. They're very connected to the divine. And they are just literally tapping in, and there it comes. And they open their eyes an hour later and there's 15,000 words that has been channeled in an hour. Who can relate to that experience? Does anyone here do that? Kerry does that. Yep. Some people do that. In that case, Jacqueline says, yes, that's for her. That's the way she does it. The way it comes through the first time, you've got to let it come through like that. You've got to let it come through without the structure, because structure can be applied afterwards. I'm talking chapter titles. I'm talking subheadings. They can be applied down the road. So I hope you're receiving here a couple of messages. Number one, the way it comes through first go is totally okay, because if it's missing anything, that can be addressed on the second run through. Is that landing? Is that making sense, team? That's a really important point, because I think that gives you permission to begin. Because I'll tell you a way to not write a book, and I'll tell you how to definitely not write a book in a week. Write a sentence and then check the sentence and rewrite that sentence and then check it again. That is definitely how to not do this. So let it come through. And so for any recovering perfectionists, I see you. It's okay. You do need to let go. The more that you let go, the better time you're going to have. I'm seeing a few people smiling here. Again, our job in the process is, if there are gaps in structure, it's our job to point them out and say, hey, you actually need this here. Rachel said that in the read reviews, which happen in Publish and Launch when we're actually publishing, a lot of what she's looking at is structure. Is the heading appropriate? Because the chapter titles and the subheadings, what they are actually doing is they are giving direction to the mind of the reader. You are the leader. You are taking them on a journey. So a lot of us here in the transformation space, you're taking people on a journey through your work. You are taking them on a journey through your book. And for those of you that, sit in sacred circles and are, sort of tapped into the shamanic side of life, go deep with it. Drop them in hypnotically 75 times in the introduction. We have people that write their book as a ritual. I'm not saying everyone needs to do that, but certainly that is how some people do it, right? Drop in, drop in, drop in, drop in, drop in. The body of the book transforms the people, and then you take them out the other side. And so now we're starting to look on an overall view of the book. Introductions, really important, really important. Who's heard the saying that people judge a book by its cover? Yep, I can tell you from 10 years experience in this industry, they do. That is true. Your book will be judged by its cover. That is why on our publishing team, our cover design team are trained in brand marketing. Not just any old graphic designer. They're not like other publishers out there that I've got to tell you guys this. I know a publisher in Melbourne that charges $25,000 to publish someone's book. They're getting their covers done on Fiverr for $5 a cover. The covers look horrible. The font choice is appalling, and they get no repeat clients. People judge a book by its cover. The cover is important. We want it aligned with your brand, aligned with your message. We want you to be proud of what you're putting out to the world so that you can really get behind it. Is this making sense? So people judge a book by its cover. They also judge a book by its introduction. Have you ever read a book, opened a book, started the introduction, and then gone, nah, that's boring, I'm out? Not even, no, this is not for me, but like, oh, I just can't. I've read the first page, there's nothing, it's flat. That opening line, and here's one of my biggest tips for introductions, the opening line matters. That very first sentence. Make it engaging, make it compelling, make it even dramatic. State, and this is my second tip for intros, state the problem the book solves. We're doing a book with an accountant right now who is leading a financial rebellion to empower business owners to take control of their numbers, to get rid of the anxiety of not knowing your numbers and come from an empowered place to know your numbers. If you've been in business, you know that's a thing, right? Like, I used to spend all year worrying about the 2 weeks that I would have to do my taxes. And it was so painful that I was like, I've got to get this part of the business sorted. That's what she does. Her opening line is accounting is broken. Problem. Straight up. Okay. Again, that's something we can give you feedback on. During the snippet reviews in the book writing intensive, we encourage every single person to submit their introduction to get feedback on, is the intro landing? Are you guys receiving this? Can I get a thumbs up if you're getting the importance of a bang on intro? It's so important. We actually do an entire hour workshop on compelling introductions as on the very first day of book writing intensive. And then we give you feedback on it. You've got to dial that in. Third thing to put in an intro is tell your story about the journey of how you got to the place of writing the book. Now, why is that important? Well, one, it's important for rapport, so they know where you're coming from. You can establish values, you can establish connection points. You know, if you said, oh, I grew up in regional Victoria, and someone's reading it from there, they're like, oh, I know that city, or I know that town. So you're connecting with people. You're also looking to establish authority that is in integrity. So we're not talking about like tell your story and like blow yourself up, overinflated. I don't think that's going to serve you. But for you to actually just state, this is where I'm from. You know, I spent a lot of time in New Zealand, played rugby with a lot of Maoris, and they have a saying. I don't know what it is in Maori, how to say it exactly, but the concept is they want to know where my river meets your mountain. So whenever they're meeting someone for the first time, they will have a conversation so that they understand where they know each other from. In that introduction, you can share your story of where you've been in an attempt to do that. Where does my river meet your mountain? Why are we meeting in this book, in this introduction right now? Is this making sense, team? Yeah? Rapport, connection, that's what the introduction is about. Any questions on that? Any thoughts, any feelings? What are you receiving? I know we've just downloaded a lot of stuff. What are you taking from that? Yeah, Rachel said it can be interesting to write the introduction a few times. Some people leave the introduction for the end. They actually don't write it at the beginning because they want to get out their material and then go, how can I best frame what I've just produced? So I hope what you're seeing here is that this can be a creative process. It doesn't have to be linear. It doesn't have to be like, I'm doing the intro and now I am doing chapter 1 and now I am doing chapter 2 and now I'm doing chapter 3. If that's you, fantastic, do that. If it's not, don't worry. It's got to be juicy and concise. Yes, I love that. Yes, this is feeling very freeing. Who is noticing the permission? Yeah, who's feeling like their creativity is a bit more open? Yeah. This does not have to be like, look, it's hard. It's a hard thing to write a book because it requires bravery and courage and an accuracy on the message. If you've got the bravery, if you've got the courage to step forward into the uncertainty and you take the steps to dial in your message, it is not as hard as you think. Davina says her creative process is a lot like Pro Heart, throwing out all the big pieces first and then linking it all together. So very much the approach of getting a draft out is getting the big bricks and then looking for the link, like how to link them together. You know, sometimes people, they write the first chunk and then they're so concerned with getting the right link to the next set of material that it takes them a day and a half. And it's like, hey, if that's going to slow you up, don't worry about that. You can add links later. It's about getting the big pieces out. Davina, do you want to speak to the doing it dirty for a second? I love this. Permission.
Yeah. So I always give myself permission to do it dirty, in that it comes out however it comes out, and I can always polish and refine it later. And we have absolute rock stars like Rachel on the editing team, who heads up the editing team. And like she said before, she actually geeks out and froths and loves doing all the details. I couldn't think of anything worse. I'd rather probably neck myself, but I really love the creative process and just like throwing shit out and seeing where, like, how's this all going to come together? You know, it's like I enjoy cooking too and getting in the kitchen, and Dave will tell you if you hang around us long enough that I make delicious raw desserts.
Oh yeah, they're so good.
And it's just like, how can we bring all of these ingredients together and make something truly delicious, you know? And that's how I approach book writing as well.
Like making a good meal. So I'm just going to visually show you what this looks like, team, because I know we've spoken a lot about the feeling and sort of done it on this level. Let's go Bookmap here first. Can you guys see my screen? Can I just get a thumbs up if you can see that? Yep, thank you. So this is essentially what a Bookmap looks like. You know, what have we done so far? We've talked about the purpose. We've talked about the vision. The big idea is really the message. We've got the target audience to guide us. We've got the voice and the tone. We spoke about that, about dialing into your own voice and tone. And then at the front of the book, you've got, you know, the front fill material, which these are all really easy to go through. We've got a worksheet for every piece. You've got the intro that we spoke about. And then it's just about putting your ideas in containers, right? This particular map has 10 chapters. Yours might, you know, you might decide you've got 3 parts. So you might go this one here, part 1, these guys here, part 2, these guys here, part 3, and then you go, actually, I don't need a 10th. Does this make sense? Like the way that you break up the material is completely up to you. Yeah, you can do parts, you can do sections, you can do just chapters. We had one guy who did 35 chapters. Yeah, part of what we work with you on is how do you break up your book? And at this point, again, all you need is a working plan, because so commonly what I see is people, when they actually get into it, people might start out with this, you know, part 1, part 2, part 3 plan, and then they go, actually, I can't put this book out without writing about this 10th topic. Like I absolutely have to put that into, you know, so it can shift and it can evolve. One other thing I'll share about conclusions is you want to leave the reader with a bit of up energy, a bit of forward motion, because and this is where the business part of it comes into, if they're leaving inspired and in an action-fueled state, what's this guy here? Programs, find the author online. This is the lead out into your website, into your community, into a sales call, whatever the avenue happens to be. Is this making sense in terms of flow, team? Like, is this useful to see this overall? That's what we're talking about. Yeah, thank you. That's what we're talking about with structure. Any questions on that piece around structure? Any comments? What are you noticing? What are you observing? What are you learning? What's landing for you? Just jump off and jump in if you've got something to share.
While anyone's thinking, I'll reiterate something, if that's okay.
Go, Kerry.
Davina put it in, and it's something that I think is really relevant, is that the last book that I've just written, I, honest to God, thought I wanted to trash the whole thing. I thought it was a pile of shit and I wanted to throw it into a bin because I hated it so much at the end of it. Like, that's the truth. I was like, I am never going to figure out how to structure this thing. It is a fucking mess. It is a shit show. I don't like these details. I was in a full meltdown tantrum. I'm saying this to be real with everyone, because at some point, some of you might be here. And I turned it in for my read review, and Rachel sent it back to me, and she's like, Carrie, this is actually not bad. She didn't even say not bad. She actually said, this is really good. And she said, all you need to do, and when we talked about it, she's like, you just need to put headings in to make sense of this stuff, right? And I've changed a few things around, but really, realistically, it was all there. I just couldn't see it in the mess that I thought it was. And not only that, but even when I put in my intro for while we were in our snippet review, like, I pretty much trashed it. The first intro I put in, I trashed. She gave me the feedback. I went, I don't even want to try and rewrite this to make this work. And then I rewrote the whole intro. I say this because none of it has to be perfect, right? You don't have to know where you are. You get to, like Davina said, do it real dirty. You can go through these points where you think it's going to be, I clearly remember one of my other author friends saying to me, he's like, Harry, it's okay to turn it in as a piece of shit, because it's probably not. And every person I've said this to who sat in the seat that you've sat in have gone, oh my God, this sucks. I'm like, just turn it in. I bet it's way better than you think it is. The review always comes back like, holy moly, this is an amazing piece of creative expression, right? And so wherever you're sitting right now, like, know that it gets to be as messy as heck, that you don't have to understand any of this. And that the publishing process, thank God for Rachel in here, and the other editors and the other people who come through the process with you, it will make it so beautiful, and you don't really have to worry about it at all.
Yeah. Who's ever had those thoughts of like, oh, this is no good, this material is no good, who would want to read that? Yeah. I just want to know, interesting that Jean put her hand up. She's on her 8th book. Like, I think that shows that this is the humanity of it. You don't escape it. And that we can often be a lot harder on ourselves than what the actual reality is. Like, let's be clear, we will tell you where there's gaps. You guys get that, right? Like, if there's a gap, we're going to say, yeah, you're short there. But we're not going to red pen it and like come down on you like your high school 10th grade teacher who's like marking you at an E, and it just kills your enthusiasm for the task. This is a huge, honestly, we screen editors who work on our team hardcore, because there are so many editors that'll be like, nah, can't say that. Nah, that's not proper English. And they leave you feeling like you've actually got nothing to offer, when the reality is it could have just been communicated in a way that goes, hey, I think you've got a gap there. I would suggest filling it in this way, and it would really take it to the next level. Like, so the way that the feedback is delivered, why to only 0.01% complete? Partly it's editors. Because it's crazy. I see it. So I'll tell you. Awesome. Davina says,
did have one other, sorry to jump in.
Yes.
Lauren had a great question about word count.
oh, yes.
What guidelines, if any, are there? Does it matter where we start?
Cool. Let me give you some stuff on that. So we have published books from 4,000 words in length to 120,000 words in length. the average size book that would be written in a week at a book writing intensive is somewhere between maybe 18 and 35,000 words. And so if you break that down over 7 days, you know, let's say 3,000 words a day, it's like, can you write 3,000 words a day for 7 days and produce a 21,000 word book? It's like, pretty much everyone can do that. Barnes & Noble research suggests, Barnes & Noble did a study that if you want people to read your book from start to finish, and I'm looking at Ben Dorat here because I think this might be useful for your book, is Barnes & Noble did research that said that if you want people to read your book from start to finish in one sitting, the optimum size for that is around 100 pages, which is, depending on how it's formatted, somewhere between that like 15 to maybe 22,000 words. Once you start going bigger than that, they have to come back for second sittings, and it needs to be really compelling for them to come back for second sittings. What a lot of our book writers are aiming for is they're aiming to produce a book that can be read on an interstate flight, right? Melbourne to Sydney, Sydney to Brisbane, something like that, especially if you're in business and especially promoting the book as that. Boom, just read it on your flight. Easily consumable, easy to start a conversation, easy to read. People say, here's the other thing, when you meet your friend, you go, hey, what have you been doing? They go, oh, I just finished reading this book. It gives them something to talk about because they've finished a book. Yes. Ben totally relates with doing it dirty. Who's loving the doing it dirty? That's like the best. That's why we got the team that we've got. You know, oh my gosh. I'm having flashbacks to some certain memories from certain recent retreats.
Hey, Dave, can I add something with
Yes,
from what you're saying around being able to read it on a flight? One of the things that I love that you talk about too is that a lot of authors think that they have to like all of a sudden get all of your things into one book.
Oh yeah.
And like, this is such a beautiful spot to say that that is not existent or true. And likelihood is, if you see many of us that are here multiple times, if you write one, you're kind of addicting. You might want to write 2 or 3 or 4, or Jean, who's at 8, right? And I say it because the more specific you are in each of these books and the more that you get clear about the topic of the book, the easier it is to target into somebody who's going to read it. It doesn't have to be long. It just has to get the point across. So like Dave said, I've written books that are 10,000 words. I've written books that are 30,000 words, and each one of them has a different purpose. But you know, if you get to the point, then people will have a reason to read it and read all the way through.
Love it. I
And
think
it doesn't have to be long to get the point.
correct. I think, Jean, your books range between 15 and 50,000 words. Is that about the range for you? Yeah. And again, each book had a different purpose. I know Jean's Millennium Children books, they're actually, that's a body of work that Jean's got to share. Like that is a modality that is, you know, that is an actual thing. So they were more substantial, they were bigger. And then there were other books that were more, could be very tightly, succinctly spoken about. So the one thing I would say to add to this is, for those of you that are thinking, sitting there going, oh, well, I've been trying to write the Encyclopedia Britannica, A to Z of everything I know on everything, is in your book, especially if you have a business purpose for it, especially if part of your intention is that they read the book and then pick up the phone or buy a course or go into your community or the next step, is give them in the book, give them why it's important for them to know this, and give them the what. Spend the majority of the book on why it's important and what they need to know. The how, the A to Z, the steps, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go lighter on that. Because it's the how, it's the detailed step-by-step, the detailed implementation that would be better served in your course, in the next level, in your workshop, in your coaching program. Now, the caveat to that is, if your intention coming into this was, I'm going to write a textbook, I don't think anyone here would be that, because it's not really the thing, it's not really what we're about. Textbooks would have very, very detailed A to Z, how to, 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to think about your book as a taster that anyone that's done NLP opens loops in their mind where they're like, to close that loop, I need to go to the next thing to get the how. Now, not only is that smart marketing, but if you gave them the how detailed line by line at the outset, it would possibly be overwhelming for them and they do nothing with it. So from an actual transformation serving the reader the best, you need to give them a taster. Jeannie, can I just get your opinion here? You've Secret Codes to Success, that was a more taster book. What was your intention there? You were aiming for people to read it, get a flavor, and then come into your courses?
Yeah, so that one, whereas the Millennium Children book was this thick, I haven't read a bit that thick, so it was in 5 days, split it to 2 books. And the Secret Codes to Success and Manifesting are, as you said, the why and the what, not the how. Well, there was a snippet, flavor, hors d'oeuvre of a how to practice, but it is a lead on to my big ticket items. So and as you said today, it used to be international flight, now it's the interstate flight. It has to be so easy to read, and then and a lot of people, when they have the why and the what, people want, since 2020, they want that connection of why. I want to know that person. I want to know, oh my God, she's been in pain or done cartwheels or eaten strawberry cake or something as well. So yeah, it's just a little hors d'oeuvre as such.
Is that making sense, team? Like it can be a taster. Yeah. And we will help you to craft exactly what goes in. If you put too much in, maybe you can tell a story in a shorter time period. Okay. We've got 3 final questions to answer here, and then I'll share a bit about the intensive with you all. So, third to last question, which I think is really important and that is not considered by a lot of book writing coaches or book writing providers, is who are you becoming through the process of writing, publishing, and launching your book? We're on an identity level, on a deeper, even, let's even go archetypal level. Who are you becoming? I would suggest, through experience of seeing 500 people go through this and 300 books coming out of that, Rhonda says a completely new person. Yes. Rhonda did the journey herself a couple of years back. You're becoming, okay, I could give you all sorts of labels. You're becoming more of a leader. Maybe you're stepping up in your space. Maybe you're becoming more of a marketer. Maybe you're stepping up. It's usually some form of leadership that you're growing into. At the end of the day, at the heart of it all, you are becoming more of who you really are. Does that make sense? You're getting to the core of what you're here to do. You're doing something that is on mission, that is on purpose, that has been divine to you, that you've connected with that idea and been like, yep, this is me, this is my idea, this is the idea that I am here to bring through. Jean is becoming Bazinkle's me, all of me. So maybe it's full expression. Maybe this is the marker for turning pro, whatever that means to you. Maybe there's a healing element to it. You're back to you're back to your best self. The consideration of identity is really important, because the sticking points of, like, whenever it gets blocked will relate back to identity and your resistance to stepping into who you're becoming, right? You guys get that? Like, there's an evolutionary process that happens by being courageous and expressing and going, this is what I've got to offer. Awesome. And again, that's why people don't write books, the 0.01%, it's because they don't have the understanding of the deeper transformation that's happening while they're doing the surface level thing. Number 2, second to last question. Kate says powerful stuff. Thank you. Thanks, Kate. Appreciate that. Second to last. Team. who have you got to help you, to support you in this book writing journey? I'll tell you from experience, the whole reason this business is here is because I had no support to do my first book. I've got it here. This guy here, 46 pages, Living Outrageously, Your Hero's Journey. There's Dave of 2014, looking very, very serious. You turn sideways and it disappears. By the way, that's 10,000 words. So Ben Dorat, that's what a 10,000 word printed book looks like for marketing material. For, if that's getting posted out, that is an ideal size. Also costs the least to ship via Australia Post. You send it as a letter. Team. I had no team. I realized that this process needs support. There's so many, like the space being held for you to write so that you don't freak out. Then when you're getting into publishing, editing, formatting, cover designs, distribution, printing, marketing, launch, whole thing. Jeannie, do you just want to speak to that for a little bit about the team? I know you just go, yep, these guys help me.
Yeah. Having all of the IBW team been an author, been through it, experience, and for me, it's like, well, they know. I do run away. I've already booked for June, and I've already booked my accommodation. I run away from the family. My family's not actually my team. They just go, you're crazy. What, 8th book? Oh my goodness. So having Dave, Davina, Rachel, and Kerry, it's like they get me. They know. I sign up every time because I don't want to edit. My brain just goes like that. So hence Rachel. I need Davina for the Oracle, Davina Oracle for the title subtitle. Kerry, I'm going to connect with on a different level because I know from other things, but I love the fun things. So let's do cartwheels, Kerry. So for me, the team is right here. Editing, when Rachel sends it back and says, tweak that, do that, I just do it. I don't actually argue. I don't go and refine it. What's a sentence? I spew it out, send it off. It just makes it easier. That's why I love being here and continue on. And publish, uplift, downlift, whatever the words are. I don't even know the technology. Dave and the team, so that's why I stay here. It's just much easier. They get me, they know, they've got their expertise, they let me be me. So yeah, that's why I'm here. Again, even on the book map thing, you'd think by the 8th book I'd go do it myself. What for? I've just written 6 pages of notes again, because it's a new me each time.
Thank you so much for sharing, Jeannie. Really appreciate that. Paula, do you just want to share your experience too with what decisions you've made around team?
Yeah, look, honestly, so this was my 2nd book. I did my first one was in October, going through the publishing thing. It's been absolutely amazing. I thought there was no ways I was going to do it in a week, and I had to do stuff beforehand, and I never used it because when it came into that sort of container, it kind of all flowed, and the team is just so supportive and really brings it out of you. And both the people who are on the team who are on the intensive as well as the team, it just kind of happens. And it was just absolutely amazing. And the one thing I did want to speak to was the resources. I have been just gobsmacked at the amazing resources, infrastructure that there has been since then. And it's just been fabulous. The reviewers, but there's just been so much stuff. I have felt very supported. So really good.
Amazing. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you, Jean, and thank you, Paula, as well, for those perspectives. Team, that's really what we've aimed to create here, is a one-stop shop where you can go, well, I want to write, publish, and launch my book. Those guys. Let's go in now. I'm just going to put the link in the chat to the book writing intensive for those of you that want to take a look. We're going to talk through that in a moment. But the final question of the bookmap session, where we always leave things, is now that we've got these pieces in place, what is the next step? Like, a book is a journey of words. It's a journey of one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. For you, what is literally just the one next step? And this is a really important question to ask yourself over and over again, because the reality is there are thousands of decisions to be made when writing a book, when publishing it, when launching it. The only way that it actually gets done is one step at a time. Overwhelm is the thing that we are eliminating by asking this question. What is your one next step? Does that make sense, team? We're just asking, thanks, Colleen. Can you just take one step? And for some, like Jeannie just goes, you know what? These guys know it. I'm just going with them. Right? The next step, Jean's book for 2024, okay, we'll have to talk about 2025, Jeannie. Fantastic. Lauren saying just start. Absolutely. Paula's clearing her calendar for the Feb Intensive while she's launching her first book. It's fabulous. So as we're getting some answers come in here, team, would it be okay if I just spend a few minutes sharing with you who is thinking of joining us to write their book at either the Feb or June Intensive? Is there anyone here that's actually considering that? I know there's a lot. Yes, there's a lot of people that are already signed up to join us. Now, let me share screen with you. What are we going to do here? Basically, I'll show you. I'll map it out for you. So let's show you. Which one am I going to share? I'll show you. I'll just show you. Okay, which one am I going to show you? The book writing intensive. You know what? I had all these slides to show you. I'm just going to talk to you about it. Is that cool? Can we just chat about it? It's a week together. It's 7 days. It's online. The way we break up the week is in 4-hour chunks. So we have a live check-in, a live Zoom meeting, a bit like this, but not as long, maximum 1 hour. And what that does is it allows you to break down the task of writing your book into micro goals. So every single day, we've got check-ins around the clock. So if you're tuning in from overseas, if you're in a different time zone and you're up at midnight, like Kerry, for example, is coaching at 1 a.m., at 5 a.m. in Australia, you pick and choose the times that work best for you, that work in with your schedule. So if there's like an afternoon that you can't make it, but you're writing in the night, that's fine. And the idea of those check-ins is to break down the decisions and the priorities for you in just the next session. So what am I doing in the next couple of hours? And for some people, it's like, okay, my intention is 2,000 words or 4,000 words or to add a story to that chapter. For others, it's like, actually, I'm going to go to the beach because I'm going to refresh my energy and I'm going to have a writing session tonight. So it's really about finding your natural flow. Some people are morning people, some people are evening people. You know, some intensives, we don't see Jean in the afternoon or evening because she's been up at 2 a.m. and gone through to 10 a.m. Right? So it's very much an experience you can tailor to your schedule. Now, in terms of actual writing time, we've seen people do books in as little as 9 hours of writing time. I've written all of my books in 28 hours of writing time or less. It absolutely can be done. The more clarity you have on your message, the more embodied you are, the more ready you are to write, the faster it comes out. And we support you with all of that. So it absolutely can be done in a week. Now, during that week, we hold a couple of specialty workshops. So we spoke about the introduction workshop. We're dialing in your intro. We spoke about how important that is. We spoke about getting the title right and dialing the title in. We spent an entire workshop on that. We talked about what is the publish and launch process? How do you actually do that? What's involved with actually getting a written manuscript into a published book and launched to the world to achieve your goals? We have an entire publish and launch preview session on that during the week. You've got Davina, you've got, honestly, I'm just going to say it, we've got world-class coaches, like 7 years experience from Davina, 2 books, a 3rd on the way. Kerry's done 3, you've heard her story, 4th book on the way. Rachel, I said 5 books, I've probably gone low on that. I've done 7 myself. We have legitimately spent and invested our lives for years to do this and helped hundreds of people do this. So I don't know where else you'll get the quality of coaching that we provide, that sort of space that we provide. So there's the coaching. There's the snippet reviews. You get to submit your work to us and get live feedback from Rachel as the editor on the introduction to tell you if you're on track or not, on a chapter to tell you whether you're on the right track or not. And they are so valuable because sometimes if you're doing this for the first time, the question in your head can be, am I doing this right? And so to get that, like, yes, it's great here and you've got a gap there and you've got a gap there and that was great. So valuable. So there's the snippet reviews. You get 2 of them during the week. We also have a members area where, as Paula was alluding to, there's a whole stack of resources. There's a whole stack of worksheets as well that you can work through, like how do you put together a chapter, the chapter builder. We've got a worksheet on that. Every single piece of the process, all the little bits, and I think you realize there's lots of little bits to this, right? We have training or support on. Probably the coolest thing is that it's a really fun thing to do that is amazing personally. It is a remarkable thing that you will do in your life to get a book out, to do it with remarkable people, and the business benefits of writing a book, because it takes you places. For me, the reason I love this so much, the reason I'm a creator, right? Who else is a creator? Like how quickly do we like move on from ideas? I've done this for 10 years, right? This is absolutely the best. This is the thing I wanted to participate in when I wrote my first book, and it wasn't there, so I created it. And we're getting pretty close to the stage where I'm actually not going to run it. The team's going to run it, and I get to participate and write more of my own books, because I reckon I've got 25 in me. I've done 7. I reckon I've got 25. Yeah, the team's cheering. They're like, Dave, get out of here. But you can see how much I love it, right? So this is the environment that you get to be part of. In terms of the prep work, we start the prep work. We've done a couple of bonus prep calls, but really it starts next Wednesday. Next Wednesday is the kickoff. We do a bonus prep call. The following Wednesday, we do another group book map. So whatever you've got today, we will dial it in even more. And then in the Friday before the week, we do what's called the Quantum Book Writing Strategy call. It's an hour. That's where we share with you all these people, these hundreds of people that have written a book in a week. How did they do it? We share the 7 strategies that have been common to every person that has succeeded. And I know it says quantum, and that might suggest woo-woo energetic. They are actually exceptionally practical things. You will leave that session with a list. I know exactly what I need to do to set up my environment so I can complete this task. So the prep is there. The week is there. The aim of the week is to get a draft done. Bring on the woo-woo, says Bayou. I hope I've got your name right there. Bijou. I hope I've said that right as well. There is an option, so that's the intent. That's the intensive. There is an option as well to get some more one-on-one help from me. We call it the diamond level support package. You get a 2-hour session with me to do your book map if you want to go really deep and get specific tailored input from me. And the other thing that is included in Diamond is walkie-talkie access to me. You get me on Voxer Messenger app direct line of communication for me to coach you through every single step. Jean says she always does diamond. We've got a lot of people here that are already in. Paula's already in. Rachel's got the link there. So you can see, you can see the pricing on there. Basically, the intensive level, the group level is $550 to get in. That's Aussie dollars, 3 payments of $550, or there's a pay in full at $14.95. You save yourself a bit of money if you want to pay in full. The diamond level is $1,100, 3 payments of $1,100, or you can save yourself $305 by paying in full and at $2,995. And there are only 4 diamond spots remaining. Reason being, there's one-on-one with me. I am not a robot yet. We haven't reached that transhuman point. I hope we never do, but we may. I've got limited time. I've got room for 4. Questions, team? Thoughts, feelings, suggestions, concerns, even. This is
Can I add
go, Kerry.
while they're
Yeah,
their questions out?
go ahead.
Something that I thought I would add in, because it sounds really intense when we say do this in a week, and then we've got these check-ins and all these things happening. I want to also add that what's really important during the week is that you look after your health. So none of this is done without actually looking after your mental, physical, body health, all of it. And so at your check-ins, like some of them might be, I'm going to go eat and move my body and walk and whatever. And so none of this is to be like, you have to be sitting in front of your computer for 20 hours a day, or that you have to be checking in with us at all these wild hours of the day. It's literally like to make sure that you're moving forward and looking after yourself at the same time.
Love it. Thank you for that, Kerry. We will go, I think Tanya had a question, and then we'll answer Alegria's one after that. Tanya.
Yeah, hi Dave. I've followed you for some time now. Can you hear me?
I got you loud and clear.
Love what you do. Thank you for having me. Though for me, starting off a new year and with pre-launch of other things going on, is there a chance where I could sign up? I'd love to do the diamond level, but I'm not ready to do the diamond level. I'd like to. I've got 5 books already practically half written. So I need to know, is there a chance that I could be flexible with you and start off with the first intensive of your mid-range level and then go into diamond in a few months? Is there a possibility of doing that?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, so
Can
are
we
you saying,
discuss that later?
yeah, maybe we, for anyone that, we'll keep the call open for a few minutes now for questions. If maybe connect with me on Messenger, Tanya, and we can talk about how that specifically plays out. Are you thinking of like February, maybe February and June, or what?
I'd love to start your intensive first, just because I know I'm time poor.
Yep.
And then see how it's done, experience it with you guys, and then go to a diamond level with seeing where I end up with the first book, and then see how we go.
For sure. I think that's the decision a lot of people are making right now, is starting point.
Yeah.
You know, that's why we've made this low price, easy to say yes to, start, and then the path unfolds. So in short answer, like it sounds like there's a lot that we could do together. And maybe it sounds right now, it's just about saying yes to the first step.
Yes. And for me, just because with life is so busy, I'd like to experience it, get to know your tactics, your strategies, your plans, and experience that first before then I up my game and then go to the diamond level.
For sure.
Because I want the most value out of it.
For sure. No, that sounds absolutely sensible. I mean, that's what Jean's done. Just as like when we first connected 2016, Jean, and it was like, just say yes to the first thing. And then, she's got another book, go to that. We've got to approach books from an unfolding place, because sometimes to say yes to, like, you know, imagine if I was signing someone up for 25 books, like how much can change over the course of those books coming out. So yeah, absolutely, Tanya. Great question. Take the first step.
Okay. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Let's see. What other questions? Alegria, does this include publish and launch strategy? Yes. So we do within the book writing intensive on the final day, on the second final day, the Saturday, we do an entire session on publish and launch. We share exactly how we do it. We lay it out step by step. It's an 1.5-hour session. To be totally transparent with you, that is the invitation point as well for people to continue on with us. Now, I'll add another layer here. Throughout the entire, today, this was really about planning a book to write the book, but we talked about a lot of marketing, right? We talked about a lot of business. We talked about a lot of positioning. That continues through the intensive. So we do sessions, a couple of bonus, like unannounced sessions. Pretty much every intensive last year, we did a bonus PR training. So it's like when you get on radio, and I say when, podcast, TV, how are you going to share your message when you're on TV, when you're on radio, when you're on a podcast? So that's a big part of it too. Is that what you were asking about, Alegria? You have a follow-up to that?
Yes. Oh, well then, thank you for that, Dave. But also Rachel mentioned that there's a publish and launch program.
Yeah.
So how long does that go for and what are the prices of that? And is that straight after the February one?
Yeah, so how our process works, for anyone that's curious, we help people do 3 things: write the book, publish, and then launch the book. You can pick which parts you need. So, for example, some people have already written it, and then they find us and they need help to publish and then launch it. We have a whole team of book production experts to help publish, and then there's the marketing strategy and coaching to launch it. Obviously, it's a bigger investment, publish and launch, because there's like 13 people on our team that help you to put together a really high quality book. Now, it is a bigger investment, but quite honestly, I would challenge anyone to go out into the marketplace and find such a team at the price that we offer it. Kerry's shaking her head here. I think she's probably tried to do that. Tried to go and find a team at a better rate than us. It's all in one place. So I can definitely get the link to publish and launch, or I can message that privately to you. But really, the book writing intensive is the first step. There's not, we can't start editing unless there's actually something there. Yeah.
Sure.
So, yeah, thank you very much for that question. Yeah, Rachel's got some links for you to stay connected to us, Instagram and Facebook. Kerry says, do you want to just speak to that for a second, Kerry? Knowing people
I know people who
Yeah, go
help
on.
with writing books. I know people who help with publishing books. I know people, when you're in the industry, you're in the industry, and you attract more people in the industry. And there is no one who offers the level of support to get, first of all, a book out in a week. It usually takes people way longer to help people get a book out. And then oftentimes it doesn't get out, right? And when you actually go into publish process, like I don't know anyone who creates the results that we create here with the support that is created, the love in the group, not only from the team, but from the people who you will meet as you author, as you go through the process, and does it for the price, for the investment that we do. There's no one. There's not even close. It's like, it's night and day.
Yeah.
There's nothing to compare to. Unless you're going to try and do it yourself, and then it's really a bad idea. It's a really bad idea.
unless you have like exceptional talent finding skills, so you can find the right people, and you're an exceptional project manager. Like if you've got those skills, okay, maybe go do it yourself. If you don't have those skills, honestly, it's just, this is the easy train to get on. So the diamond, okay, let me be really clear. So publish and launch. So we're talking today, we've been talking about the intensive. That helps you write the book. The graduation point from writing the book is then publish and launch. Because obviously you've got to write the book in order to publish it. Does that make sense? The diamond level support is for the intensive. It's for that intensive period. So we'd be doing the book map later this week, next week, the week after, at a time that's convenient. We'd be on the walkie-talkie right away from this afternoon. that walkie-talkie support continues throughout the week and for a week after the book writing intensive. Once you've got your book out, then people join Publish and Launch. Publish and Launch is a 12-month that we open the container for 12 months. So you've got time to integrate and embody the message, to go through the steps, which we all lay out for you. The reality is many people are getting a book once they go into Publish and Launch. Although 12 months is available to them, they're getting it out in 3 to 4 months. So again, you can tailor the timeline to what you've got going on. Does this make sense? So Paula came in, you wrote it in October 2023. Paula's launching Feb 2024. 3 and a bit months. If you take out Christmas, 3 and a bit months. You really do get to tailor your speed. Some people take 6 months, some people take 9 months. It all depends. For example, if someone comes to me and says, Dave, I don't have following, we would potentially put the launch date a little bit further out to give you more time to do pre-launch activities, to build your list, so that when you do launch, you've got an audience of warm people to launch to. Does that make sense? Whereas if you've already got a following and you go, hey, let's just get this out there ASAP because you've already got the following. Again, it's a very personal consideration of the timing. One of the other things that we dial in Publish and Launch is we spoke about the astrology. I'm a student of the astrology. We are looking for the absolutely ideal date for you to launch your book according to the seasons, according to what energy is present at what time. You know, for some people that might not be relevant at all. You might think astrology is hokey. The main idea is we find the right time, because timing is important too. So there's all these like tiny little things that people that do it by themselves, like, oh, when do I launch? Should I launch in the day? What about the weekend? What about the morning? It's like, we've got the experience to go, yep, there and there and there. And oh, and now I've got the plan. Is that making sense, team? Yeah, thank you for these questions. These are really great questions. Yes. Just to reiterate on Kerry, I saw, or Rachel was showing me late last year, one provider of publishing services. I looked at their offer. They do exactly what we do. $44,000 US. I'm like, it's like over 60 grand Aussie. Like,
It was terrifying to see that. I mean, that just there, yeah, and just be aware there are scams out there. You know, there are people who you can pay to help do a book who you're never going to see them or talk to them. Like, you're just not going to have support along the way. So I had to share that with Dave because it was a huge red flag to me just to see it.
Yep, Kerry commonly sees 25 to 45 US. Just to be complete, and I'll put the Publish and Launch info. Our package is at 15, and there's payment plans and there's finance options and Australian dollars too. Thank you. So if you're in America, it's like under 10, right? And I hope that the evidence of, like, you know, Paula's back for a second, Jean's back for an 8th, Rhonda's considering a second. Like, you don't get people coming back unless you're actually delivering on what you said you would deliver. And that is always our intention, is to do exactly what we said we would do. I think that's very important in business. Cool. Well, I'll just drop one thing here for Lauren as well. Lauren, we also have resources on our website. We have a IBW University. There's a series of YouTube videos. Our YouTube actually has about 60 or 70 short videos of different aspects. So that's definitely well worth looking at as well. Bijou said, love and appreciate the attention to detail. Absolutely. Rhonda says, let's see. I'm getting close to being able to do the audio book. Yes, you can absolutely do the audio book. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Rhonda. Absolutely. So a lot of people do the audiobook as well. That's another thing that they do after publish and launch. The audiobook segment is growing year on year by 20%, and it has been since 2013. It is not stopping. So that is a segment. Oh, Rachel's got the YouTube channel. Please have all the links of all the authors online today. Thank you, Dave and team. Team, I think that this is a pretty natural ending point. We're going to round out now. I know we've stayed a little bit beyond the time that we said, but I appreciate your questions. From this point forward, if you do have any questions about the intensive or about publish and launch, please direct message me and we can have a chat. Make sure it's the right fit, make sure it's the right timing. But my number one thing would be, whatever your next step was, whatever you got to, like, take action on that next step. Do that next thing, because the forward momentum is what it's all about. If you can sustaining momentum is how books get done. When you drop the momentum, the floor falls out of it, and it can be really hard to bring it back up. You'd have to probably come to another one of these to bring it back up and stay in the momentum. Davina, any final thoughts for the group?
Yeah, just if you're unsure, reach out to Dave, or if you don't feel comfortable going directly to Dave, reach out to Carrie, Rachel, or myself if you have any specific questions, and we're more than happy to answer them for you. We'd love to have you in the intensive. We've done over 300 books. The proof's in the pudding. Again, we'd love to have you and hope to see you in the intensive.
Awesome. We might round out there. Thank you, team. Appreciate you all. Have an amazing day. Look forward to seeing you again on the journey, wherever we may meet. Bye for now.